watch. So. All right. Well, having a quorum, I'm going to call the meeting to order. February 4th, 2021. And with the roll call, Bill Groves, Commissioner.
Hello. Hello.
And there's George.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Okay, roll call. Bill Groves, Commissioner.
Paul McGurk, Commissioner.
Dave McBride, Commissioner.
Justin Primo, Commissioner.
George.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just say your name and Commissioner, and that'd be good.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, there's George Mathador, Commissioner.
And Craig, are you with us still?
I am.
Paige Bronk, Groton Economic Development.
Sam Eisenbizer, Groton Economic Development Staff.
Adam Wright, Sub-Base Liaison.
Jill Rusk, RTM Liaison.
John Burt, Town Manager.
I think we got it covered. Very good. Okay, we're going to start off with public communications. Lauren, I don't believe anyone asked to address the commission tonight. True?
There is somebody here.
Okay.
Lenny Belay.
Yes, I'm just an observer. I live in Mystic and was just interested in what's going on with the commission.
Well, welcome, Lenny. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
And the second part of public communications, and everyone got in their package, we had a letter addressed to all the different departments, I assume, but economic development was one of them, from Jeffrey Richards, giving concerns about the school property, the Mystic property that's being developed. I really don't have a lot to discuss on that. If anyone really feels that it's something that the commission should take up in conversation, I'm happy to put it on for the agenda next month. As far as I could read on it, is he definitely has a strong opinion about the use of the property, but at the end of the day, really, it's a state property. It's not a town property. So we were just kind of facilitating that, but I'm happy to listen to anyone if they'd like to add it to next month and have a formal discussion on it. Okay, hearing none. Oh, yep, Justin.
How big is that property?
I can comment on that.
Yes, Paige.
The main parcel that includes the buildings and also the deep land, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. That parcel's 77 acres. There's a smaller parcel across the street. That's let's say it's about 8 acres. That includes both parcels that the state is relinquishing for this property. Just a little bit more information on that. The larger parcel, the 77 acres, it will be subdivided at the time of sale to the developer. So the lower half, the more environmentally sensitive half with the slope and the trees, that will be protected. But the upland half that's relatively flat, has the buildings, that half, which is about 38 acres, I believe, that's the developable area.
And is there a tax abatement on this?
There, at this point in time, is no tax abatement other than we have an agreement with the developer. We receive no local property taxes for the property right now. Instead, we receive pilot funds from the state, payment in lieu of taxes. And
Okay.
that equates to about 25,000. But at this point in time, the developer has a 1-year lease agreement to manage the property. And we were concerned that the state may not pay us the pilot 25,000. So we entered into an agreement with the developer. In the event the state does not pay that, we would receive the 25,000 from the developer.
I mean, my personal feeling, I know we're going to discuss this next month. That property is 1/10 of the size of Central Park. And as much as I would love to see it as a park, I think that'd be wonderful for Mystic, for Groton. The tax revenue lost, not only lost, but our taxes going up because do you know how many people work strictly in Central Park? Like we would be after hiring a lot more people for the town crew take care of that park. So it's a beautiful idea, but unless someone wants to fund it, I don't think every taxpayer should have to fund it.
And I think the bigger point of it, Justin, is for one, it is a state property. It's not a town property. So
Yeah.
we just acted as a liaison to bring the parties together. And the part two of that is that having seen the preliminary and the development, is a large portion of it is basically going to be paths and walkways and stuff for the town to be able to enjoy and such. So
Absolutely.
I think it brings us the best of both. So as I said, I look at the letter and I understand he has strong opinions of it, but his opinions are basically we should have everything. It should just all be a park and such. And you know what? We have to look at the practicality of the both sides of it. So as I said, we received it in because it was addressed to us. I put it in you guys' packages. We should all be aware. But
Yeah.
I don't really think there's much discussion, even as a commission, we can have on it because it's not something in our purview really at this point in time.
Well, Bill, I will say there's something, it's a term when I was in real estate, it's called smart development. And I think this is actually a part of smart development.
Correct. And I agree with that. And I think that's why we kind of got behind it because the staff and everyone that put this together, they looked at all different types of developments. And I think they came up with one that they're really cognizant of trying to keep that park feel to it, but also the existing buildings that have been sitting there doing nothing for how many years now?
Yeah.
So,
I have two questions.
sure, Craig.
First one in the context of other things that are on our agenda this month. The first one would be, is there a reuse evaluation of the Mystic Ed Center that was already done? Or because it's town, we didn't do that? And the second one is, if John Burt or anybody else needs for us to look at it next month so that there is some form of response from the town, we should know that so we know whether to put it on the agenda.
At this point, I don't think the town council is really entertaining the idea of a park there. So there's probably not a need at this point.
Yeah, and Craig, the letter was addressed to the council, to the RTM, to the EDC, the planning and zoning, and to others. So it was a kind of a blanket letter. I just wanted to make sure, I was never aware of it. I guess something came out in June. We just wanted to make sure it's in your hands. If someone wants to come and question you as a commissioner, yeah, I saw the letter, but I don't think it's at this point in our purview. So if John wants us to take it on at some point, happy to put it on there.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so let's move on to the approval of minutes. Any changes, additions, corrections for the January 7th meeting? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Okay, old business. So I put together the goals and annual report for the town council. I used my format on it. I put it out to all you guys for feedback and such, to run it through Lauren. And at this point, I haven't heard anything back. I know we had some discussions on it last month, but nothing came through to Lauren of any changes or any additions or things like that. So I'll open it up for old business, but at this point in time, if everyone's kind of happy with it, I'm inclined to just move ahead and use this to present to the town council. Greg?
I didn't send in the feedback because I was thinking that we discussed it at the last meeting, but if there's a way to adjust any of them to include continuing our networking with other businesses tied to one of these goals, I think it would be useful because it's something we're going to do anyway.
And that's, you know what, Craig, I'm fine with that, but that's a semantic thing on it because I think we all in agreement on that. So if you just want to send the way you'd like that included to Lauren, and I'll have her include it, and we'll just kind of, we can accept it pending that. So.
Right.
Anyone else? Paige, do I need a motion on that? Do you know, or Lauren? To
I
approve?
would recommend that there be a motion to approve the report, seconded, and then
Okay. So
that way we can formally forward this to the manager's office to be received by the council.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll look for a motion to approve as presented with the semantic changes that Craig's going to offer to Lauren, because it's really not changing the document, what the purpose is. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve as amended with Craig's input.
Second,
Justin's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Moving on to new business. John Bird had sent out let me just get to my paperwork on that one. Basically, they're looking for it, and we went over this briefly in our pre-meeting to give a heads up, but there's excess property review, and basically what they do is they like us to look at certain properties as they come up to see if, in our opinion, from the Economic Development Commission, there's a economic benefit to the town such, and I think they referred also to the Conservation Commission to let their input on it. So that was included in the package. And I'm going to pass that one over to Paige and let him go over it.
Actually, I'll get started with this.
I'm sorry, Sam.
Yeah, no problem. And chime in as needed. So thanks you guys for putting this on the agenda. As Bill mentioned, this is part of that process where the Property Evaluation Committee is gathering input from various commissions and agencies. There are 2 properties that they're collecting this trying to get this information about, and I'll just give you the highlights of each one at a time. But the question at hand for the EDC is, will significant economic development opportunities be generated by the sale or disposition of each property? So we've put together a summary report for each property in the packet. And I'm happy to just hit those highlights, whether you've kind of already gone over that or not. Let me begin with 0 Flanders Road. Obviously, it's just with no address, but the location is on Flanders Road, just south of the I-95 overpass, and it's on the west side of Flanders Road. That's 17 or so acres, and it's forested. I'm happy to go through a couple highlights or answer questions, but let me just frame it by saying it is zoned IM, industrial mixed use. You can imagine that covers a spectrum of everything from retail, restaurant, personal services up to a light industrial. It's not the most intense industrial zone that's in Groton. But something that needs to be understood is, even though it's zoned for industrial use, it's not serviced currently by water or sanitary sewer. That section of Flanders Road is not. Many may recall that there was an effort to bring those services across from, over Hazelnut Hill Road, kind of from the Pequot Clinic over to that section. And that was a number of years ago now. But, the cost was exorbitant, and, what they would be serving right now would lead us to indicate that that's not going to happen. That's not going to be likely to be extended in the future. So even though it's zoned industrial, it limits the intensity and to a large degree the uses that are practical for that location. But having said that, there are many uses that could happen there and would not rely on the extension of those services. There's one more thing I want to point out, and I'll just entertain any quick questions on this. There's a historically a larger set of industrial zone parcels that historically has been on the market or entertained for larger, more intense uses, and they kind of lie, farther to the west of that property itself. They call them the Holstein properties, and that's actually 168 acres total. Of those properties, they have, much of it has characteristics that would limit industrial use. Water courses, wetlands, rocky areas, and steep grades. What's nice about the 17 acres, the Zero Flanders Road, it actually, in contrast, has a lot of features that make it suitable for development. It's forested now. It's largely flat. It has great road frontage. It's not a lot of wetlands. And the one thing, just so you understand, is that if this subject parcel were kind of combined with some other industrial parcels, it actually might even enhance other or unlock or improve circulation or access to some of the other industrially zoned areas. So that's kind of that summary. Just as a side, you'll see the use, it's currently vacant. There is an unsanctioned disc golf course that was installed by neighboring residents that was brought to the attention of Parks and Rec. It's kind of just a footnote to the question that's in front of you guys. If you don't have any other questions, that'll go back to Bill.
Sam, I have.
Sure.
The industrial park on Flanders. Is that
Yeah,
Bruce?
Mystic Business. Yeah, 800 Flanders.
He has a waiting list to get in there.
That's exactly right. It's a great point.
So and he loves building stuff. he just keeps building. Right. To get more people in.
And he does it without having municipal services over there. He's able to do what he needs to.
Yeah. So I think you have an ideal buyer right there.
Well, again, the question in front of us is really straightforward, but to your point, that is in demand. Flexible space, page 9 all the time.
Yeah, let me say, what's the proximity of this property to his?
Actually, off the top of my head,
I'd say a half mile.
If I remember correctly, I've met with him several times, and he's a very sharp type. But didn't he start his own water company because he had to bring water to his property? So he's got know-how. I'm just saying. So I just remember having conversations with him. I was like, okay, and I think he spoke to us at one point.
Yeah, it's Tim Tylaska, and
right.
he's been really successful in that location.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul.
Yep. So it was my understanding that there may be someone from the Holstein family that's interested in building a self-storage area there. Is that part of the debrief here, or is that just rumor?
That may have prompted it, but that's not what came to us. For the purpose of the EDC, it's really just almost a generic question of significant economic development opportunities.
So let me just to focus. So the question really coming to us is this is a perceived viable economic enhancement to the town. If we did actually go out and market it. And that's really what our determination is, not who the buyer is going to be or anything like that, but there is a demand, perceived demand for this type of property in that location. And that's how we have to look at it from the broader picture and not getting into who specifically is going to buy and develop it. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
just to comment about procedure, in the event the EDC believe that the property holds economic benefit, there is a significant procedure that would follow. That information goes back to the town manager to be reviewed by an internal committee. Ultimately, the town council gets involved. In the event that they want to advance this further, there would be an RFP, a competitive process where we would solicit proposals. So I'm sure there would be interest, but there could be multiple interests that will have to be evaluated at that time.
Correct. And that's why I was just trying to bring it in, because I think for a commission standpoint is, yes, we know there's demand of some sorts out there, but that's really not what we're dealing with right now. It's, do we see that there's a perceived economic value to the town to possibly develop this or put this out for development to others. So.
Unless there's any questions, that's all the details I had.
And Sam,
Yes, just.
how about, was it 1270 Paquanic?
Oh, sure. So I'm happy to move on to that one now. If you guys want to, you guys can do your motion on this one if you want to keep it clean, or I can go to the next property, either
Well,
way.
on this one, Sam and Paige, do you two, either of you have recommendations? Is there something you'd like to see happen?
I can comment. I think, well, I believe we believe that the property does have, this particular property at 0 Flanders does have economic development potential.
Yes.
So however you want to handle that, Bill, do you want to do a vote on this one now and then hit the next one, or wait?
Yeah,
till
let's just keep it clean and do the first one, and then we'll let you go to the second one. So, I guess the motion on this would be is that the Economic Development Commission would like to pursue. We see a value in developing this, potentially developing this property, and refer that over to the town manager. So a motion on that.
Yes. Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In favor. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Noted. Paul is opposed. Motion carries. And let's go on to the next property.
Great, thanks. So this is 1208 Paquanic Road. That's if you know the entrance to Groton Utilities, right across from where South Road meets Route 1 or Paquanic Road. It's just to the west there, and then it's adjacent to the former Connecticut Massage Therapy Training Institution, which has been on the market for a while now. So it's just under 1 acre. It's zoned mixed use village center that allows for commercial uses, as well as residential uses. So there's a pretty good spectrum of what you could put there. Personal services, offices, restaurant, retail in a small scale. It's currently vacant. It is served by municipal utilities. And the other thing I just want to point out to that is that because it is adjacent to that therapy school, if this subject parcel, the 1 acre, were integrated into a larger development on an adjacent property, it would in all likelihood improve the circulation to the larger development. It would also increase the development capacity to, if it were combined with other properties, just give you more options in terms of where you'd have turnarounds, parking, circulation, that sort of thing. And again, as just under 1 acre, it also might be a candidate for development under those other zoning. It's flat and there are some wetness, but certainly there's dry sections to it. So again, any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Sam, it is pretty
Wait, you have one
swampy over
question?
there.
Paul, go ahead.
Yep. Sam, again, another rumor, but is there any question about contamination on the property? I thought I heard there might be some contamination.
We didn't, obviously this is, was just the one prompt with a very specific question. So no, I don't have any details on that, and I didn't do any research on that. So
Okay.
not that I'm
Thank you.
aware of, but I don't really have good information on that.
Hi, this is John. To be upfront, there is some contamination. I think it used to be a gas station there. And to let you know, the Conservation District has reviewed this one. They found no conservation value to it and recommended selling it.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Thanks, John. I know Justin had a question. I had to step away.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem.
What percentage of that 1 acre is wetlands?
I would say that there is enough upland or dry land to, I'd say the majority
Well,
of
with setbacks and everything?
Yeah.
You could build something.
1 acre, there's adequate capacity.
Okay.
Just with a quick review. Yep.
Just because I know it's really swampy down there.
Well, and the bigger issue, and again, that's just partially why I bring up the concept of circulation for the adjacent parcel, because of that the Connecticut massage therapy school. The entire back section of that is actually wet. So even though 11 acres, the usable area that is less than half that.
So this is the property prior to?
It's
if you're heading west?
It's on the east side of that, north side of Route 1, adjacent east to the Connecticut massage therapy.
Okay. How much are they asking for that school?
I'll tell you in the as we noted in the letter, it is under consideration for mixed use development. I forget offhand what they were asking. It's been on the market for a while.
Can I move my restaurant there?
Well, mixed use means, they may very well, if it does move forward, there may be restaurant and retail space as well as some residential space. So, keep your ears open.
All right, will do.
Any other questions? So I'll entertain a motion for the Economic Development Commission to propose this over to John Burt for consideration, that we do see the value from an economic standpoint. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, everyone.
Here, this is McBride. I got to jump off.
Okay.
It was 6 o'clock. So thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave. Okay, so for the going on to the reports for the chair report, this, for one thing, that I saw on the Channel 8 News last week, and I was watching it, and I just think it's kind of a testament to what the staff is doing in the way of these school developments. Some of our charge is actually to take these properties that we do have in a town and see if we can increase our tax rolls, and that's part of what we do. But there was a nice piece on the Sealy School that Channel 8 actually covered, and they gave a preliminary design of what it was entailing, and they got into the point of putting housing in for the people working at EB and such like that. So anytime we can get that positive press, I think it's a good thing, because that's more of a statewide putting Groton on the map of some of the things that we're doing here. And as we mentioned before, even though through COVID, a lot of things have stopped, the development and building and stuff like that in our area has not. So that's a good thing, that's still moving forward. Another thing I was thinking about before I got on here, it was a year ago that was our last face-to-face meeting. So we've gotten through a year of these Zoom meetings, and I'm very much looking forward to where we can get into a room again and have conversations.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not an anniversary I really like, but I was just like, wow, it was the last time we met face-to-face. But I credit all you guys of pulling it together and figuring out the Zoom stuff and such. And the last thing I have on my report, and it's a little sad, because I'll tell you the truth, that over the period of time, he's been such a great source of information as liaison with the subbase, because we always talk EB and all the other things, but one of the major partners we've always had in the town of Groton has been the subbase. And unfortunately for us, but very fortunate for Adam, he was offered and accepted a promotion, and he'll be relocating to Virginia. And I only hope that he has some say in naming who the new liaison is going to be, or details, because he really brought a lot to the table and gave me a lot of information that helped out in some of my thought process of what we do here. So on behalf of the entire commission, Adam, I thank you for all the work you've done, and you conscientiously have been here. I can't remember when you've missed a meeting, maybe once. But you always bring some good information to us and good things to think about. So I thank you for all your assistance, and good luck to you in your future. So, and I will still let you give your recap at the end, but I just wanted to get in there and make sure you know that all your efforts have been appreciated by all of us. So,
Congratulations, Adam.
Yes.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, congratulations.
Our loss is their gain. How's that?
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Paige, I'm going to pass it off to you for the staff report.
Okay. I'll try to touch on some highlights here. Everyone has the report. PPE is still an issue for us in this COVID timeframe. We do have all the documents signed for this grant that we received, $150,000. It does take us some time. We're about to bid that out and hopefully get the equipment as soon as we can. I'll touch later on in the report that Nava Retail still finds that PPE is an issue for a number of people as they're conducting the business surveys. Again, we're doing a stockpiling for that PPE, and it's not necessarily to be used as the first line of equipment, but if people are having difficulties getting the equipment for whatever reason, supply, pricing, it's nice to have a stockpile for the community at large. Regarding PPP and other federal assistance, I know Bill's an expert on that, being a banker. We really encourage people who have yet to apply for PPP funding. If you're a business and even thinking about it, please do. It's my understanding, Bill, feel free to correct me. It's my understanding the process has gotten easier, and funding is available. And we are still learning that a number of local businesses are not pursuing the federal funding, and we would encourage you to do so. We have monthly meetings dealing with long-term recovery. We had the last one on January 27th. I had presented some of the preliminary Nava Retail findings, which I'll touch on in a minute. Shoreline menus, we did hold that forum on January 11th, introducing shoreline menus. Our goal was to maybe have something up by the end of January. That didn't happen. We're hoping it'll occur in February. We think we have the numbers to actually make that happen. Justin, you have a quick comment?
I will speak to that after you.
Okay, thanks. Nava Retail analysis, it's in your report. I'm going to just try to pick off a couple of the highlights. Restaurants definitely are still hurting. And from the surveys, it appears that they had a slump in the fall, which may not be a surprise. Maybe it's weather induced. In terms of business performance and sentiment, roughly 51% of the businesses say they're doing worse than comparable time prior to the pandemic. 34% say that they have reached their expected performance, and roughly 14%, actually 15% of the businesses think they perform better than expected. In terms of PPE, as I said before, there's an increased comment about challenges in gaining PPE. In terms of product supply chain, 56% saying they're having difficulties, experience large delays when receiving. Think about even consumers over the holidays. Everyone was challenged with that. And then a couple more points on Nava Retail. They still find that 34% of the businesses do not keep their hours updated on any online formats. That's really important, because if you're not updating the hours, people will arrive at a location and maybe that day you're not open till noon, but your online says you're opening at 10. That's not good for the business or the consumer. The last point I would make regarding Nava Retail, probably the most important, of those surveyed, 44% of the businesses applied for COVID relief funds, 44%. And of that, 91% of those who applied received some sort of assistance. So we don't have that many that are actually applying, and those who do receive funding. So again, I think the big takeaway is please encourage businesses, if they're even contemplating, to maybe pursue getting some assistance. It's my understanding it might be getting easier than the earlier rounds. Next program, wayfinding signs. We've been talking about that forever. We are finalizing a bid package right now. It's our goal to actually have some signs in the ground this spring. First phase, it's actually incorrect in the staff report. The first phase will be the intersection of Route 1 and Newtown Road. And also in that first phase, we're targeting a small area of Mystic, particularly a kiosk we would like to install on downtown Mystic. We're continuing to have significant industrial property interest. We don't have that many industrially zoned lands left, but those we have are definitely getting attention. We are looking to do an affordable housing plan. That's more of a community development thing, but we are interviewing consultants and are selecting a finalist. In terms of public property redevelopment, Mystic Education Center or Mystic River Bluffs, we have a lot of focus on that these days, and obviously the community at large and the neighborhood is really interested in that. In terms of highlights, the zoning is still a large variable at this point. That is being dealt with by the Planning and Zoning Commission. There are a number of outreach meetings that are occurring. There was one on January 20th. I believe tonight there is one right now that the developer is having at 7 o'clock with RTM District 5. Another item of discussion is the reuse of the Pratt building. The results of the Green Play Peary study in terms of the inner programming for that building were presented. The largest concern at this point by some is whether or not we'll keep the auditorium/theater or convert that space into something else. At the COW on January 26th, there was a desire to go back out to the community in the form of a survey, which we are doing, to gauge the community's interest on whether or not they would like to see a theater in that Pratt building. I will say there has been significant interest by nonprofit performing arts groups that are somewhat rising to the occasion, expressing their interest. Regarding Groton Heights, it's still ongoing, but there'll be movement shortly with a finalized agreement. That's with Thayer Mahan. Gold Star Highway, that is advancing. It's already gone through the COW, and it's moving forward to be finalized with the agreement to be executed. That involves about 300 apartments on that property. Sealy School is advancing. They did gain their wetlands approval Over the next few months, they'll be dealing with demolition of the existing Sealy School property. Actually, that project's referred to as Triton Square. Colonel Ledyard School, we've had progress on that as well. The council has approved the sales agreement. So it's been through both the COW and the council. That moves forward to the RTM. That project also entails multifamily units. The structure, single-story school building will be retained to build roughly 14 to 20 apartments as phase one. Phase two might be some buildings in the rear at a later date with new apartments. The last one, Pleasant Valley School behind Cardinal Honda, we have completed the first round of interviews with our shortlisted candidates. I think the last comment I will try to make, as I always talk about, is the unemployment data table on the last page of the report. And I think there's some great news. I'd like to think this is really a good turning point for us. We have been, Groton has been below the state average since spring, roughly March of 2020. This is the first month, that would be December. We're always a month behind. December, we actually matched the state average and are trending in a positive direction. We're down to 7.5% unemployment. We haven't been below 11. That's not true. We haven't been really consistently below 8 for many, many months, and hoping that this will hold and the trend continues to be positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Justin, you wanted to talk about the delivery service?
Oh, Shoreline Menus, yes. I met with Lauren, who's their director of sales, and Alex, who's one of the principals, this afternoon. And we're close to having the numbers for them to come here. We're very close. I think we have 10. They're ready to go. And I gave them every single contact I have in town at every restaurant. And they were just going to drive around and talk to people. And I said, drop my name. So that's how they were spending the rest of their afternoon. So I think that's going to move forward very quickly.
Great. Thank you.
And some restaurants in Stonington as well.
Very good.
So if they come, if they get us and a couple of restaurants in Mystic on the Stonington side, they'll come this way.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, moving on to liaison reports. Adam, you got the floor.
Hang on there, Chair. I have something to say.
Oh,
I got my hands raised. Did you not see that?
oh, that's what it was. I thought you were high-fiving.
So, Justin, I gotta confess to you, my daughter loves your food, and they packed it a few times, and each and every time that they brought your food back, I have yet to taste it in all these years, because there's nothing left by the time I get home. You talking just reminded me, and I know it comes up every month. I said, Don, I haven't tasted Manana's food. The food comes into the house and it disappears, and I see all the bloody wrappers around. And I said, geez, thank you, Papa, for being around late. So anyway, so I hope one day I get to try your food.
I know. Come sit down at the restaurant.
God willing, inshallah. If I could do that. Paige, a couple of things. If you don't mind, and John, I'm doing some things in the state with the supply chain and as well with several other things for pandemic and emergency and etc. I think it'll be very helpful for me if you were to share what you just shared just now, the data, information of the PPE and all those kind of things.
Oh,
Because there is a dearth of information. And next week, I can't remember, Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm supposed to have this meeting with a whole bunch of DECD, Constep, CBIA and whatnot. And believe it or not, their focus is similarly tied to just the major cities. When you talk about Connecticut, to them is Hartford, New Haven, Stamford. End of story. If they are not moaning and bitching, then everything is hanky-dory. So I am perfectly aware that across the Connecticut River, a lot of the townships are having this PPE issues and dilemma, and I don't think it has risen to the top sufficiently and hard enough. It may have come up, but all right, item number 2, what's the next topic? So it just gets drifted. So the next week's meeting would be to our advantage, would be about PPE, the supply chain and all those kind of things, which wonderfully Senator Kathy Hostin and Saud Anwar and Doug McCrory have pushed for this conversation with me. And so I want to give them some kind of a samplery data from my neighborhood that I could say, look, I'm not going to tell you about what happens elsewhere. At least I can tell you what happens in my hood. So if you could kindly give me something that expresses those kind of sentiments and difficulty in getting PPE, because month after month or week after week, I am told the governor's emergency response team has it all covered. And so will Kathy Austin is being told as well. So which is, it is what it is, but I need a complaint, or not necessarily a complaint, a factual data coming from the town of Groton, which is the most industrialized town in this region, saying that is not necessarily true. And that will be helpful for them to have a little bit hot under the seat. Number 2.
George, can I comment on that?
Sure.
I have files that I can send you. Nava Retail, not only do they do the surveying, but they do provide us final information in the form of, well, we have 2 PowerPoint presentations and 1, it's a Word document with preliminary results from our phase 3 analysis. So I can send all of that to you. Hopefully that'll be helpful.
These guys won't read 5 pages, 1 page. Just one. It's because it's not their problem, see. And if I can make it succinct and 1 page, just what you just shared, if you can just record it and write it down, the task is done. The second thing, in terms of all the small businesses, the whatever restaurants and whatnot getting the PPE, that is a chronic problem across the entire state. Because as you and John know, I shared with you something earlier last week or 2 weeks ago, there's not a single database in the state of Connecticut that knows every hairdresser, restaurant, or etc. within the 169 municipalities. Zero, nada. The only one that is close to tracking the businesses in the state of Connecticut is DOL, and that has to be those which has more than 500 employees. Other than that, everything below 500. Department of Revenue Service, the Secretary of State Service, DAS, none of them have a record of it that is accurate. I can't blame them because it's just like our darn phone book. address book. We probably have like 2,000 names each. And we are wondering who the hell these people are and whether they are alive or dead or whether they are still in the same company. We don't want to clean it up, and neither does those state agencies themselves. So we have a dilemma that we are trying to address next week. In terms of the DOL data that you shared earlier, I would say even that information about employment is not fully accurate, because there needs to be a way of tabulating it. And the system that exists today at DOL, I do not know if it's still on COBOL or whatever it is. It's still pretty archaic. So whatever the information that they're giving us from last year to this year in terms of employment numbers, I would not be too happy about it altogether. But I think we can see from ourselves, from the news reports and whatnot, that we are growing in this region no matter what. And that's one sense of safety and comfort I feel that we are lucky in our region. Forget about what DOL says, whether we are up by 5% or 10% when they themselves don't know what's the baseline figure to begin with from 2019. So that's all I wanted to say.
The numbers at that point is you're right. I can't say that number is correct or not correct, but I can see trends, and the trends in the right direction. I think that's the best thing we can take.
The trend is correct. Yeah, the trend is correct.
The trend's in a good direction, and we know things are still moving forward.
Okay. Let me put my hand down.
Yeah, no more high fives. Adam, I'm gonna put you up first.
Well, actually, I had a question for Paige.
For who?
Up there. For
Oh,
Paige.
go ahead. There's your hand too. God, everyone's high fiving me.
So the question is, there's been a lot in the press lately about the percentage of communities that is available in multifamily housing versus individual homes. And there were even details in the newspaper about New London County, but it didn't break it down to Groton. As I was reading the Mystic Education Center letter to the editor in the paper earlier this week that was related to this letter, it had me thinking, where does Groton stand with respect to how we are in terms of multifamily housing as a percentage of our property?
I don't have an accurate number in terms of the ratio of, let's say, single family to multifamily at this point.
Right.
But what I can say is that our youngest large multifamily development was built in the 1980s. That would be the Ledges. And it's dated. And we also rely on our knowledge regarding our commuter base. I've always referenced in the past 80% of our workers drive in and drive out every day. That's somewhere in the order of about 20,000 people. So that is a valid question. I think you're hinting at what is our true demand or
I'm trying to sort of help us position where Groton is with respect to others on the data that's showing up in the press. The way you describe it, which I've heard, you're right, repeatedly, is the 80% piece and so on. And I know that there's demand here, but I'm just wondering whether there's some value to Groton seeing that some of the development that the town is doing to bring in multifamily housing is in keeping with some of the direction that the nation is trying to move, as just a way of bolstering the direction, the work of the Economic Development Commission and your work is moving.
I think it's a valid question. And we're obviously having some great success in redeveloping a lot of these former school properties. We are going to be doing a study quite soon that evaluates long-term demand for multifamily housing. We believe that everything in our pipeline could easily be digested. But the question is, at some future year, when that is, how does the strong demand match the future supply? And how will those numbers correlate? That is a question we've discussed. That is something that we want to analyze, but we're pretty comfortable believing that since we have none of this product today, the first one will be Triton Square. We have plenty of room to grow, and I can tell you we have tremendous interest in all of our properties from private developers who probably have more insight than we do.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered all of your question.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking that if we knew the answer to that question, given that's the way the rest of the nation is looking at it, in a community whose politics are as they are in Groton, it would probably be supportive of the direction in which the town development is working. So it would just bolster the support for some of the work that you and your office are doing.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. All right, I don't see any more high fives. Is that correct?
Or Adam.
Adam, you're up.
No problem. I won't be long. I did want to say I appreciate your comments, Bill, and everyone. It's my personality to want to communicate, but also that comes from our leadership. Captain Moore and before him, Captain Whitescarver were valued highly, communicating with our community and the other towns and municipalities in the region. Captain Moore goes to every Council of Governments meeting, as do I usually. And we, as George knows, we work with Bob Ross at the Office of Military Affairs continuously. So I think you're in good hands with the leadership. When I first told Paige about this, they were not going to be replacing CIPLOs, people in my position across the region, due to funding issues, and that has changed. The Admiral Rock is the commander of the Navy region, Mid-Atlantic, and he said, no, that's an important position. So they're filling mine and Earl, Naval Weapons Station Earl CIPLO, who left. So that's really good news. And they're advertising out on the accepting applications from the public. So I'll make sure you see where to look that up, and that can be circulated amongst people in the community as well. So, but I did want to say I've learned a lot, and I said that in my update. I came into this from an environmental standpoint. My career was mostly environmental and a lot of public outreach to do with Superfund sites and contaminated properties and all that. But I didn't have a lot of financial management or economic development experience, and I learned so much just coming to these meetings and watching Paige and his team work. So I want to thank you for that sincerely, and broaden my horizons quite a bit to do this. So thank you again. One more thing, I talked to John and Paige. We're going to try to have a sub-base leadership meeting with the town leadership as well before I go, just to touch on all the things that are in my report and others that we're working on, to make sure that we've got awareness on our side and your side as to where we are and the next steps. So we're going to try and make that transition as smooth as possible.
Adam, do us a favor. Would you send us a note when you get to your new endeavor, so that we know to recess safely, and if time and God willing, we could visit you there too in Virginia.
Oh, certainly, yeah, I'll be in the
You've
DC
been a
area.
blessing to us.
I would love to, George. Thank you. I will do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Wish you all the best.
Thanks
Thank you.
again. And Jill.
My apologies. Adam went a little quicker than I anticipated. I can turn on my video. Oh, I'm really dark. Sorry. Paige touched on this already, but the RTM approved the acceptance of the $150,000 CDGB grant for the PPE stockpile. And the RTM also approved the purchase of the right-of-way on Route 117, which is right by the library, for the Groton sale. So that's about it.
Thank you so much, Jill. And John, do you have anything you'd like to add before we close it up?
Just to mention these short-term rentals, I think you guys have discussed that before. That's going to come back to the council on March 9th to the cow. There's no particular action at this point. They had a group, that committee that gathered data that was presented to the council. Now the mayor will ask the council, do you even want to pursue anything or you just want to drop it or what? But I just want to let you know that's coming up. So if you have any thoughts on it.
Thank you very much. Other business, the only other business, and really it's kind of, it could have been included up top there, but just to let you know, as I've had Paul reach out, we met yesterday, Paige, himself and I, just kind of to get him up to speed in that vice chair position and that normal progression to take over as chair. But he's reached out to the city of Groton. We're still in preliminary talking of liaisons back and forth. I know Jill brought it up at last meeting. So we are pursuing that. And I did notice that he sent an email out before we got onto our meeting tonight. So we will keep you updated as needed on that, from the report standpoint. So that's all I got. Any other business before the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to end it.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion, do I have a second to adjourn?
In favor.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good night.
See you guys.
All right.